Hi there, I'm Charlie, the founder of Koneksi, and Koneksi is an advanced messaging app for cold outreach on LinkedIn. Our mission at Koneksi is to maximize your response rates to cold outreach by personalizing every single message that you send to every prospect because we do all the research on each individual for you. In this demo, I'm going to show you how to use Koneksi to generate messages for cold prospects, and then how to take those messages and load them into a campaign execution tool called Skylead. It's a super simple process, and the same process applies pretty much to any campaign execution tool that you might be using. So let me just log in. And this is the Koneksi app. I'll head straight over to the prospects and messaging tab, and currently we have no prospects loaded. I have pre-prepared a spreadsheet, a CSV of just 4 prospects for this demo, but you can load as many prospects as you want, depending on however many messages you want to be sending and however many prospects you've got in your campaign. The only fields that are mandatory for the load into Koneksi is first name, last name, company, and LinkedIn. The rest are optional and are largely enriched by the tool anyway. But I've just included some information here sporadically to show that it doesn't really matter whether or not you include it. So if we load that file into Koneksi Demo, upload file, and then we're going to choose to not just import the prospects, but also generate the connection request messages and the first follow-up messages for every prospect. And those prospects load immediately, and then in the background, the messages start to be generated. All the research is happening right now on each of these prospects. So while that's happening, I will quickly show you the Configure My Information tab of this app. This is where you capture and where the tool actually also enriches information about you, your company, and your products, as well as the companies and stakeholders within those companies that you're targeting. And all of this information can be used to personalize your messages. So you'll see within the proposition tab, we've got company information, product information. You'll also see I haven't filled out everything because not everything is necessary. Obviously, the more information you provide, the better and potentially more tailored the messages can be. But this is a bare minimum with mandatory fields marked with an asterisk. In the audience tab, we've got some ideal customer profile information about the company, and then also prospects or stakeholders within those companies that you are targeting specifically. We've got content, so case studies or white papers, for example, that provide a nice excuse to reach out with something new and interesting to a prospect, maybe in a follow-up message if they haven't replied yet. And similarly with events, so webinars, conferences that you want to invite those prospects to, is a nice reason to reach out. And then finally, some just personal information about you that you might end up finding that you have in common with some potential prospects, which is always nice to bond over before then moving on to talk about work. Okay, let's go back to the messaging tab and see if our messages have generated. Yes, brilliant. So you can see we've got a shorter connection request message and then a longer follow-up message for each of these prospects. And that is based on LinkedIn's 300 character limit for the connection request. And you'll see that whilst each of these messages follow a similar sort of template, there also is very specific information from each of the companies included within the message to really look like you have genuinely done your research before reaching out. So Sales Panther's unique approach provides fractional sales leadership and tailored GTM consulting services. Are you open to connect? Notice Sales Panther is a dependable partner for B2B startups offering tailored GTM consulting. You assist startups effectively navigating expansion challenges, GTM strategies in foreign markets. I think there's potential for us to work together. Or, hi Dominic, Sales Institute differentiates expertise in B2B lead generation. We improve acceptance rates, blah, blah, blah. I know Sales Design Institute specializes in assisting SaaS providers in establishing connections with key decision makers through LinkedIn. If I understand, the company focuses on effectively reaching and engaging potential prospects. I think there's potential for us to work together, and so on. So you can imagine that this is only 4 people, which you could have done manually. But if you have hundreds or thousands of prospects and more messages than this, it would be impossible to get to this level of information for every prospect. And I don't know about you, but when I receive messages that actually show that the person has had a look into you and what you do before reaching out, I am so much more likely to not just read and engage with a message, but also reply and want to speak to the individual if the proposition actually makes sense. So If we now download this into a CSV, we can load it into our Skylead campaign. And just open up that CSV, and you'll see that, there we go, we have first name, last name, company, LinkedIn, connection request, and follow-up message. And you can see the messages in there. Actually, with Skylead, this is so simple. We don't need these first three, and might even just delete those columns. And then this LinkedIn column just needs to be called profile URL. And then that will be loaded into the campaign. And then these two columns will become custom variables that we can use within the campaign. So I'm just going to save this document so that we can load it. I'll just save it quickly on the desktop. Let's call it Skylead Demo Upload as a CSV and save. And then head back to the Skylead campaign. Now if we click Create New Campaign, call it Koneksi Skylead Demo, and we're going to import that file that we have just created or saved, Skylead Demo Upload. That file, remember, has 4 prospects, so we want to see, we want to see 4 leads being loaded. Total 4 leads, and then after deduplication and blacklist removal, we still have 4 leads, so that's great. And we are not going to configure any email steps, only LinkedIn. This is just a LinkedIn campaign. If we go to create sequence from template, I've pre-created a very simple LinkedIn template here. So for the leads that we have sourced, this campaign from your LinkedIn profile is going to view each of their profiles as a first step. Then it's going to follow them, and then it's going to invite them to connect. And in that connection message, there is going to be this custom variable, connection request. And that custom variable comes from right here. So anything underneath this grey line is what we loaded from our spreadsheet. And then anything above is the standard variables that Skylead has. So we can use the connection request variable here, and then if that connection is successful, send a follow-up message, and that's when we use this first follow-up message variable. And if we scroll down, we can now just start the campaign, and we want to confirm that we want to start it. And we'll see now that we have a successfully launched campaign with 4 leads, each with their custom messages loaded, and that will kick off shortly. The view profile and follow and then messages sending steps will be executed. Super simple, and I hope that really helped to visualize how easy it is to get set up and get going.